And now it's over to my colleague Radhika, who will decode for us the new BCCI President Manohar's Cleanup Act for the BCCI.
Yes, Avantika, thank you very much for that. In fact, after Sundar Raman resigned as the IPL COO today, we've got some more breaking news from the world of cricket. And it is in fact the newly elected President Shashank Manohar who's actually promised to clean up cricket, and he's finally putting it into action as well. He has circulated a document to all office bearers and state associations in order to detail his plan of action as far as eradicating conflict of interest in Indian cricket is concerned. The plan surely puts people like Ravi Shastri, Sunil Gavaskar, N. Srinivasan and most importantly skipper MS Dhoni in a spot of bother. Now the board's AGM, which is to take place on November 9th, is expected to put this plan in motion. So how will some of the BCCI members be affected by Shashank Manohar's new plan of action? Let's try and find out. The BCCI's cleanup is in action, and President Shashank Manohar is leaving no stone unturned to make sure that conflict of interest becomes a history. The newly elected president has circulated a detailed plan to board members and state associations that will come into force post the AGM on November 9th. India Today is in possession of an exclusive copy of this letter, which states that no former cricketer on the payroll of the BCCI holding a contract with the board can be a member of any board committees. Also, no current player can have a stake in a player management firm. Neither can a coach or captain have financial interests with any player who's being considered for selection. Administrators and even their family members cannot have stakes in IPL teams. These stringent rules of the BCCI will put a bunch of current and former cricketers under the scanner. India's ODI captain MS Dhoni has a bunch of conflicts to deal with. His manager and friend Arun Pandey's firm Riddi Sports manages current players like Ravindra Jadeja. Dhoni, being the skipper of the one-day and T20 team, has a say in selection. Ravi Shastri and Sunil Gavaskar too, who are contracted with the board as commentators, will have to give up their dual roles. The annual general body meeting on November 9th will surely write a new chapter in board's history. And it looks like the cleanup has already begun. Sports Bureau, India Today. We are now in fact joined by a consulting editor, Boria Majumdar from Kolkata, who's getting us all the details on this big breaking story. Also, my colleague Risesh Mandani joins us from Mumbai. Boria, I'll come straight across to you. Of course, if you could decode this for our viewers, it will be so much better. Shashank Manohar seems to have left nobody out here. Former cricketers, current cricketers, administrators, everybody as far as this plan is concerned. He plans to eradicate conflict of interest.
Yes, clearly, Radhika. He had said 2 months on the day he took over on the 4th of October. He promised reform and he's walking the talk. I mean, if you see the 3-page document that has been circulated to all state associations, and I have had a chance to speak to several today, yesterday, everybody, I mean, he's trying to get to the root of the problem. He's saying players' relatives, he's saying players, he's saying administrators. If there is any kind of conflict of interest, he clearly wants to bring the credibility back to the BCCI. As you mentioned a few names there, if you are coach of India, you cannot have a professional writing commitment, you cannot have a television contract, because that's not ethical. If you are an administrator, i.e. N. Srinivasan, and your relative is involved, which has been the case in the past, you clearly cannot continue to own an IPL team. In Ravi Shastri's case, he's a member of the IPL GC. Can he hold on to that post? Shashank Manohar clearly getting to the root of the problem, as you are putting out those graphics on the screen. It's a detailed document with multiple points of conflict of interest, and the BCCI is doing it suo moto before the Lodha Commission comes into effect. And all of these things are supposed to be tabled at the AGM on 9th November. Make no mistake, Mr. Manohar is out with a clear agenda, that is to clean the BCCI.
Boria, in fact, we are also joined by senior journalist Pradeep Magazine. Let's go across to him. He's on the phone line with us. Pradeep, if you could tell us also the fact that, like Boria mentioned, the Lodha committee, their recommendations are coming up in December. With Shashank Manohar detailing all these things, it obviously puts the BCCI in a better light in front of the committee before they put up their recommendations.
Yeah, well, it certainly does. It's good for the board. It's good that Shashank Manohar has realized what the task ahead is and what they need to do. And even before Lodha committee gives its recommendations, he started the Clean-up Act. And one must say that this is the most welcome thing to have happened in a long, long time in the Indian Cricket Board.
And also, Mr. Magazine, the points that Shashank Manohar has put also on paper. Now, this is something which has been discussed for a very long time. Conflict of interest was pointed out by the Supreme Court as well. After that, Mukul Mudgal and his committee. The fact that he's put it down on paper, the fact that he plans to present it to the AGM makes it that much more sincere efforts in front of the BCCI.
Well, it is a very sincere effort. It's also an effort which is being done in a way under the threat of the Lodha Commission. I'm not sure how the other board members will take this. There is a possibility because the conflict of interest is so widespread in the Indian Cricket Board, be it former players or even present players or administrators, that they might want to see what Lodha Commission says before they do it on their own. So let's see what happens in the AGM. I think Boria can throw a better light on this, whether there would be a unanimous decision to accept these recommendations or whether there will be resistance.
Boria, in fact, if you could take that question, what are you getting from your sources in the BCCI? Now, Shashank Manohar does plan to put this in front of the AGM on November 9th, but what is the mood in the board like? Are people going to accept this plan?
Shashank will do his best to force it through, and the good part about is, he's in this board to ensure a cleanup. From his standpoint, it's either a cleanup or he leave, because he doesn't want this post, and he's made that very clear, that he is president and he will not lead a board that is discredited. As Pradeep was saying, this is a welcome change. He's circulated this document clearly so that the board members are aware what the president is thinking. He will not stop short, I can assure you that, because he's clear that the BCCI has to be cleansed, fans' faith has to be restored, conflict of interest has to be done away with, and the Lodha Commission would do it. I mean, rather than wait for the Lodha Commission, he is doing it on his own. And if you see that document, Radhika, the 3-page document that is in the possession of India today, it is as detailed as possible. It talks about retired cricketers, current cricketers, administrators, defines an administrator, brings the families of people within its ambit. It goes into as much detail as possible. So this is a sincere effort, and one hopes that Shashank Manohar is successful. What is good for him is he doesn't want this president's post without these reforms getting carried through. If they don't get carried through, he'll leave. But if they do get carried through, we'll have a much more transparent BCCI for us to look into.
Yes, Boria, of course. Now, let us, in fact, to help our viewers understand the papers that you're talking about, this detailed plan that India today is in exclusive possession of. Let us take it a few point by point so that we can help our viewers understand. You said that he's detailed it. Now, as far as this document goes and as far as administrators go, it very clearly says that not only an administrator, even a family member cannot have a commercial interest in any activities or tournaments of the BCCI, which clearly, Boria, talks about IPL and clearly puts clearly puts N. Srinivasan, in a spot of bother.
Absolutely. And that has been the bone of contention for the longest time. Over the last 2 years, how many times has this argument been tabled? I am not involved, my family members are. So clearly, Shashank Manohar is trying to tackle that problem head on. It is not about you, it is about your family. If there is taint, if there is possibility of corruption, we will strike at it. In fact, Radhika, there is another document which is a proposed amendment circulated by Mr. Manohar, where he talks about this. He says, if there is a possibility of corruption, the president will be empowered, the board is empowered to take immediate action and suspend that person against whom there is taint. So this is a welcome change. I mean, all the points that you are putting together. No selection committee member, coach, captain can have financial interest. Ravi Shastri, MS Dhoni, Sunil Gavaskar, some real stalwarts will come under its ambit. Hopefully the members will see sense and back this, because for the longest time the BCCI has faced flack around the country for not being accountable.
Boria, let's also go across to Rasesh, who's joining us from Mumbai. Of course, Rasesh, that BCCI AGM then becomes very important. Like Boria mentioned, this plan is going to be put in front of the board on that AGM in November 9th. What are you getting from the BCCI? Of course, Shashank Manohar really trying his best to clean up cricket.
He is, Radhika. He's doing his very best, and it's a very transparent, 3-page document that Shashank Manohar has sort of, delivered to all the state associations. Mr. Magazine made a point whether there is going to be resistance. Oh, of course, there's going to be resistance. This is BCCI, and it's for reason for us to be skeptical. A lot of the office bearers that Shashank Manohar works with themselves are uncomfortable with it. But like I said, this whole 3-page document is so transparent and positive and refreshing that people are finding it difficult to resist to it very openly. That's why no one has come on record. This is the point that was discussed in the previous working committee, and there were only in muted tones that people had sort of sought for more time. Shashank Manohar at that time made it clear that time for AGM, this paper would be put up on the table, and that's where it would be. We'll wait and see how it goes. There are some reasoned arguments, like there are some selectors who are coming out and saying that if they don't continue to hold academies and own academies, where will they earn from? Will the board be in a position to compensate them? The board can, of course, counter that, saying that the salaries that are paid to the national selectors now at about 60-70 lakhs are much more than they used to be in the past. The other resistance that is likely to come from Radhika is from some of the state units. One of the clauses where it states that the state units cannot even have any association with a company which may in a commercial agreement with that state unit. Now, a lot of these state associations function in a very, very amateurish fashion. They work on the sort of contacts that they work, and some of these associations are saying that they may find it very difficult to sell every right and stake, and it's not as easy to run a state unit as it is for the BCCI. But again, the counter argument could be that the money that is given out to these state units out of the IPL proceeds and all of that is much more. So there will be debate at the AGM, but intent of the new president is quite clear. He wants to sort of cleanse the BCCI of this conflict of interest plague that has enveloped the board over the years.
We are in fact also joined by former cricketer Madan Lal. So if I could come to you, this plan that the BCCI has decided to put out, Shashank Manohar primarily trying to remove conflict of interest from the world of cricket. Do you feel finally the BCCI is doing something that will restore credibility as far as viewers are concerned?
Let me see when they comes out with whatever the board is saying at the moment, but regarding the selector or the commentator or anything else. But once it comes out, then we have to see what the implication is. But it's very difficult for a board to totally ban all these things. Conflict of interest, I believe everybody has a conflict of interest. The main thing is the accountability. Whatever job you do, the accountability has to be there. But from my point of view, I think it's going to be very, very difficult the board to do all these things.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Boria, Rasesh, do stay on, but it is time for us to slip into a quick break. We will get you more details from this exclusive document that is in possession of India today as far as Shashank Manohar's plan of cleaning up the BCCI is concerned. They're looking at Lodha committee's report. They're following it in its entirety. Of course, the two teams have also been banned. So it seems like the BCCI are trying to tread the path that is being laid out in front of them.
Look, till the Lodha committee's recommendations are set aside by a court, they are binding as per the Supreme Court judgment. So the BCCI is bound. But BCCI so motto is doing under Mr. Shashank Manohar, trying to improve the situation and making rules which will provide for more probity, more clarity.
Would you want some sort of similar action from N. Srinivasan as well? He's the prime accused, he's in the center of conflict of interest as far as every angle is concerned with the teams, with the BCCI. He still holds various posts. He's still trying to attend those meetings. He still has his clout with the ICC.
As far as Mr. Srinivasan is concerned, as far as match fixing is concerned, we found that he was not involved in it. And so I would, me to make a comment at this stage may not be appropriate.